Welcome to the Explainer. Today we are going to break down the science behind something that affects millions of people. How fasting during Ramadan can influence your menstrual health. We're going to dig into what the research actually says.
So let's just start with a question that a lot of people probably have, but maybe don't always ask out loud. If you observe the fast, have you ever noticed changes in your cycle? Maybe it's a little early, a little late, or just kind of different.
Well, if any of that sounds familiar, I want you to know you are definitely not alone. There's actually a growing body of research that confirms there's a real biological connection here. And science, well, it can help us understand exactly why this happens.
Okay, so let's dive right in by looking at what's actually happening inside your body, on a hormonal level. It's a really fascinating and incredibly sensitive system.
So it really all starts with something called the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. Yeah, that's a mouthful, so we'll just call it the HPG axis. The easiest way to think about this is like it's the absolute command center for your entire reproductive hormone system.
Right, so this command center, it's incredibly smart, but it is also so sensitive. It's constantly, and I mean constantly, monitoring signals about your body's energy, what you're eating, and your stress levels. And based on all that data, it decides how to best allocate resources.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Look at this contrast. On a totally normal day, that HPG axis is getting consistent, predictable signals. But during fasting, that input becomes intermittent. It's on and off. And that fluctuation, well, that has the potential to alter the entire rhythm of your hormones.
And this table, wow, it really lays out the downstream effects perfectly. Those altered signals, they can directly mess with the key hormones that run your cycle. The rhythm of LH and FSH can get thrown off, estrogen levels can go up and down, and progesterone might drop, and all of that, well, it can lead to changes in how regular your cycle is.
So here's the crucial thing to get. It's not just about the absence of food. See, fasting also impacts these key metabolic hormones, things like leptin and insulin. And these guys act like messengers, sending their own signals back to that HPG command center. It just adds a whole other layer to why you might see some of those menstrual irregularities.
But as you might have guessed, biology is only one part of this whole complex story. So let's look at how other factors start to come into play.
This chart does a great job of showing how menstrual health during fasting is kind of like a puzzle. Yeah, hormonal shifts are a huge piece, for sure. But look, nutrition, stress, and even sociocultural factors, they all play a really significant role too. Okay, let's talk about nutrition for a second. It is so not just about calories, it's about micronutrients. I'm talking about things like iron, key vitamins, and minerals. They are absolutely essential for keeping your cycle regular. If you're not getting enough of them during your non-fasting meals, that can totally contribute to changes. It really just highlights how important it is to focus on those nutrient-dense foods when you can eat.
And then, of course, there's stress. We all know that Ramadan can change up our routines, especially our sleep. And when you combine that with all the other pressures of life, it can ramp up the stress hormone cortisol. And what does research show? It shows that cortisol can directly suppress those exact reproductive hormones we were just talking about.
And you know what? The world around us plays a massive role too. I mean, listen to this quote from a 2022 study. It says that social and cultural norms can have a huge impact on how people actually experience and manage their own menstrual health.
I mean, this is such a powerful reminder that our health doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? Things like not having easy access to sanitary products, or dealing with cultural stigma, or just not having enough social support. All of that can make physical discomfort even worse and really affect your overall well-being.
Okay, so what does all this mean? When we put the hormones, the nutrition, the stress, and the social stuff all together in one big picture, what do we get?
Well, here's the bottom line from all of this research, broken down into three main takeaways. First, this is a really complex interaction. It's not a simple cause and effect thing. Second, the stuff beyond biology, nutrition, stress, social context, is just as important. And third, just knowing about all these factors, that awareness is an incredibly powerful first step to managing your own well-being.
And honestly, this might be the most important message of all. The science isn't saying fasting is good or bad. It's not making a judgment call. What it's really showing us is that the relationship between fasting and your cycle is super complex and deeply, deeply personal.
And that really just brings us to a final thought to leave you with. Knowing all of this, how can we start to create more health-aware and supportive environments during important cultural practices?
How do we open up these conversations? It's definitely something to think about.